So yeah, it's very interesting, man. When did you? So I'll turn this around then.
Sure.
So
Okay.
when did you like? I've known you. Oh gosh, I've known you since that Dallas trip. Really, I guess pursuit like 2018, 2017, something like that.
That was the first time that I'd seen my mom in about 9 years. So I
Yeah.
think that was maybe when I was 20 or 21.
Wow.
Hmm.
And so like you've obviously you're quite studied within several different realms of I guess your education. What made you like? I remember Josh Mulaney of Dallas was quite a different person than what he is today. So what it just seems like you're very studied. What I guess like so what did you graduate with, and
Hmm.
then what's your ultimate goal, or what's your ultimate I don't know. I don't mean to turn this. I know this is
No, no,
supposed to be
no.
about
Yeah.
Prim or whatever, right? But
Well,
like, it's just it's interesting to see the development, the character development of all these years, right? Like this is the first time we've sat down and talked in a minute.
yeah. So thank you. Very much appreciated.
No worries.
I'll have to remind myself that I'm a total piece of shit after this so that I can re-humble myself.
Oh, stop.
I studied psychology and sociology in school. I took
Cool.
business my first year, and then
Yep.
psychology was I would say maybe a brute force way to analyze myself and
Okay.
maybe come out on the other side of what I was going through.
Hmm.
And I just found it unbelievably interesting. I think
Right.
I've always wondered how to say this because in our current political climate, it doesn't seem politically correct. But I think I'm
Okay.
far more feminine than I am masculine in terms of my
Okay.
personality and my interests. So I'm far more interested in people than I am things. I've tried to get into things multiple times, and I really do enjoy things quite a bit, but I enjoy people far more. So I think this
Mm,
is a reason that I'm doing this
interesting.
and trying to learn from that. And when I say that I'm far more feminine, it's not I'm not trying to take a stereotype or an archetype of women and say that I fit onto that. I think that I'm trying to share information in the quickest way possible. So
Right.
I think that
Okay.
from a personality psychology perspective, I think that I would skew more to the side of the averages of women, and the difference between men and women are very minuscule, very small, but they exist. And so I think that I'm a little bit skewed more towards the
Okay.
female side. And so that's me saying that so that I don't get in trouble later, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I'm so I took psychology and sociology because I'm very interested in people. And then as time went on, I decided that I wanted to get better at speaking, which I think
Okay.
was a good goal for me because it's something that I was always a little bit. I had a natural proclivity towards that, was being able to talk and convince people of things. And so over time, I realized that if I didn't have any weight to my speech and I was convincing people of things that I had simply assumed, then that wasn't ethical from my
Right.
perspective. I
Right.
wanted to
It's
understand
not
things.
valid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I wanted to understand
Yep.
things more and more so that when I spoke, my words held weight.
Right.
And then I just started watching tons of lectures online, and I got more and more into learning. I think it was actually during my Achilles that I became
Mm,
far more well read. Was I the the visceral feeling was that my body had given up on me, and it was something that
right.
had never happened before. And so I
Right.
realized that the pipe dreams that I had cultivated over the years to play professional and follow that stream would maybe not be there, and if it was, then it wouldn't last for forever. So that's when I
Hmm.
decided to turn far more into my mind. And it's interesting that you say that I'm more well read than I was, because I wouldn't consider myself an intelligent person
Mm,
from a traditional perspective. I think that relates back to my grade school years where I was diagnosed with a learning disability. And
right.
so I was consistently told that I'd never go to university or really accomplish anything on the academic side of things. So that was always
Hmm.
something that I held as indisputable truth, let's say.
Mm,
And
interesting.
so that's definitely helped to keep me humble when I do hear people say things like that, but I very much appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Mm, no worries, man.
And a big part of the lectures that I realized was that the people were just unbelievably well read. They just
Right.
knew so much, and they could talk about things and move things around. And I I think that I'm quite creative, and something that I realized with people who were well read is that they were able to take ideas from different areas and different perspectives and tie them into one another. And so listening to someone such as Joseph Campbell, who studies mythology, was able to take all of these areas from different spiritualities, and he over time wove it into this big blanket of an understanding that we now hold of religion and mythology and spirituality and all of these things that came together and were an integral part of the human experience. And so I decided that I would like to be able to do that, essentially. And so
Very
that's
cool.
been my goal over the past little bit, is to essentially just read as much as I can. And another part of
Hmm.
that that ties in with the podcast, I decided that I wanted to pursue this to the utmost degree, where the nth most degree, where I want this to be as good as I can, both for myself and the people involved, whether
Right.
they're listening, hi mom, and whether they're just watching highlights or anything. I want people to actually come away from the experience of listening with more than they came in with, and being able to
Right.
think about things. And so a big part of that responsibility for me is being able to consistently bring in new perspectives, while also being able to engage people such as yourself on ideas that you already hold. And so the more that,
Right.
so I've talked about this before, but maybe I can explain it a little bit better this time, and a little bit better the next time after that. But I think of a conversation a little bit as a Venn diagram, where there's the information that I know and there's the information that you know. And the more that we overlap, the more that I can get into the, you'd say, more personally esoteric information that only you know, that I couldn't know. So the
Right.
more that we overlap, then, or the more that I overlap into you, the more that I can explore this outside bit of you that I don't hold. So that's something that so
I see.
anytime, so for example, I'm talking to a friend in a few weeks about drug addiction. And in that time, I've just been burning through books on drug addiction so that we can have a,
Right.
like, hopefully very deep intellectual conversation, more so from his
Right.
point of view. But that's my goal, is to bring as much value as I can to the people that are experiencing the journey with me. And
For sure.
so over time,
Very
I think
cool.
that yeah. And as I said, I like speaking. And so this is a way that I can help to cultivate that skill within myself, and in that way be able to express myself better. So
For sure, man.
I hope that's a satisfactory response to your question.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's just it's cool what you're doing. I think